Hello, I'm Isowellen, and this is Isowellen Stories, Coffee, and Book Club. How are you guys today? So, we are not striving for perfection here. I am reading from Blue Blood, Chapter 3, and I'm just the author reading, and I'm going to make a lot of mistakes along the way, and there will probably be some ambient sound like a dog barking in the background. And as I've already tried to improve this episode several times, this is like my fifth time recording this morning, and I just want to get it out to you. So we're just going to start. Chapter 3, Men and Horses. What was he doing here so early? Maybe Mrs. P had sent for him. Sometimes he did pickups and deliveries for her in exchange for his favorite oat cake. He liked them made a certain way. Damn, I didn't want him to see me like this. He already thought I was a brainless twit. Callan loved to use his superior height to look down his nose at me and make me feel small. I wasn't his type, not even as prey. And he never missed a chance to let me know it. His imperious manner set my teeth on edge, reminding me of my father and those like him. The sorcerer's calculating observations never registered me as a full person, only a piece of something that existed to be judged and used. I had spent my life as a magical meat offering, and it left me twitchy around narcissistic creatures like Callan. While some men charged me into a hypersexual awareness of my status as a doomed 26-year-old virgin, the sight of this blue blood caused me to question my right to breathe the same air he did. He was so high and mighty. On top of me being less than a fly to swat, in his view, I was attracted to him as I was to kin. Any human woman alive would be attracted to his ilk. While a succubus like Kinnoshita was the sexual downfall of all creatures, even dried-up old hags, Callan burned with a raw, vital honesty. He was just incredibly beautiful to look at in either of his forms. And I knew, if he wanted, he could touch me, like really touch me. He'd never once scratched or sneezed or become nauseous in my presence, and seemed immune completely to the insidious workings of a gaze that could trigger uncomfortable and potentially dangerous allergic reactions. Before Callan even reached the front door, I ducked toward the back, slipping behind the thick curtain that separated the shop front from the storage room. I was covered in flour, my apron smeared with stray bits of dough like a toddler had used it as a canvas. Not to mention, my hair had started coming loose from its braids, frizzing in the constantly humid heat. The bell jangled, the familiar metallic chime a shot of warning. "Margot?" Mrs. P's voice chased after me, its sharp edge softened by affectionate exasperation. "Changing my apron," I answered, muffling my voice against the flour-dusted linen between my fingers. "Callan's here," she said, like I hadn't noticed, like I wasn't already trying to shake the flour off me as I pressed into a corner. I hummed something non-committal back in earnest. "Mm-hmm. Come say hello." Cinnamon and Nutmeg heard their mother's call and answered first. I watched the two brownie daughters burst from some unknown place in a flurry of high-pitched chittering. They were small things that only came up to his knees. I could imagine their rotund frames bobbing with excitement. "Callan! Callan!" Cinnamon squeaked, her stubby hands tugging at his coat and his jeans. "Good morning to you. Fancy no cake breaky?" Nutmeg, not to be outdone, latched onto his other leg. "Is she bribing me again?" Callan asked in a low but friendly baritone, like a man who rarely had to exert himself to be heard. I knew he had a special place in his heart for young, innocent things. Other than oatcakes, they were his one weakness. Och, isn't it a shame, poor lad, suffering under me middlesome hands? Mrs. P. loved to watch her offspring be indulged. I've only just walked through the door and already been carted off for second breakfast. His bird circled around the words like a lazy wave against a riverbank. Sit with me, tell me a tale. Cinnamon cried in her high, squeaky voice. Nay, with me, her sister demanded. No, dear lasses, I cannae, as it is it is a tragedy indeed. Your mother has an errand for me, I heard him answer. I hoped the Brownie sisters would keep him busy and distracted. I'd slip up to my room and wash my socks while he was here. Mrs. P. wasn't letting me off easy either. And where's our Margot off to then? I had no reason to hide from him, none at all, except that facing Callan was rise the first thing in the morning, with damp strands of hair clinging to my temples, and the undeniable scent of fluster clinging to my skin, wasn't exactly how I wanted to continue the day. Kinnoshi and Lisa had left me rattled with ideas of skin and unwanted threesomes, and I knew those uncomfortable blushes still hadn't really faded. I'd almost cleared the storage room doorway and could have slipped out back before anyone. Margot, a deep voice called. I jumped. Damn it. Callan didn't say my name often, but when he did, it carried a note of authority that compelled me to obey. It was his age, his blue blood power, or a history of leading Scottish armies into battle, or some other undefiable trait, but I couldn't ignore it. Sucking in a steadying breath, I stepped out so that he could see me. His regard landed with its own sort of weight. Fathomless eyes mapped my face with cool detachment, lingering on the escaping strands of my braid before taking in my flower-covered apron and clothing. He saw everything. Damn it! My, he murmured. Is that flower, or did a ghost embrace you this morning? The morning's not over yet. I tried to glare at him and not look like a flower-dusted misfit. Mrs. P. clucked her tongue, but I caught a twitch along Callan's lips like he fought a real smile, and won. He always did that, always on the edge of something warmer, more alive, only to reel himself back in, like he refused to spill even that much of himself into the world. He was cold, as cold and chill as the ancient waters of Scotland, where he drowned his prey in a loch and eaten their livers. Have you come for a delivery, Callan? Mrs. P. asked, mercifully dragging his attention away from me. I'd not be here otherwise. You have something for fishermen over by Baytown. I. Oh, yes, love, there it is. I knew something had slipped my mind. Mrs. P. bobbed her head as she wiped her hands on her rag. You're going, Nutmeg cried. Already? Cinnamon burst into tears. Girls, a little less noise, please. What are you doing to my nerves? Go and get the big basket next to the counter by the icebox, please. I can do it, Mrs. Piddlehinton, I offered, more than ready to make myself scarce again. No, you don't, dearie. I need you to watch the counter. She snapped her fingers, and her daughters jerked as if she caught their shirt collars, loosing Callan's, and followed her butt to the back as if pulled by a string. Margot? Callan's attention turned back to me, and involuntarily my spine straightened. I have to go. You have to go? Wash my socks. Oh, lass, your socks must be in poor shape if you have to run and wash them this very instant. Could you take a moment instead and stir yourself to hand over one of those oatcakes? Or should I wait for another poor soul to take pity on me? I narrowed my gaze, but my feet were already moving. The clear box of oatcakes rested on the shelf behind the display case, and my hands recalled the motion of fetching his usual without my mind consenting to it. Why did this always happen around him? I wrapped a cake in a bit of wax paper, stepped back around the counter, and extended it to him. His fingers brushed my palm as he took it. Not on purpose, not a tease, just a brief contact in the exchange. But I swallowed all the same. The only man that didn't bother my gaze a bit. He didn't sneeze, itch, vomit, nothing. No reaction at all. He wasn't interested in me. I just didn't rate. I stood there awkwardly, silence stretching between us, thick and uncomfortable. I fidgeted, unsure what to say. So, I began, then trailed off, hating my awkwardness. How was the swamp? Damp. Right. Of course. Of course. Sarcasm dripped from my voice, a shield against the unnerving silence. The rhythmic thud of my heart filled the void, punctuated by the soft rustle of gingham curtains stirred by the phantom breeze. I glanced at Cullen, finding his gaze fixed on me, his dark eyes unreadable. You're nervous. I'm not. I stiffened my spine. The lie felt heavy on my tongue. His chin dipped, a slow, predatory movement. You are. Your pulse hammers against your skin. Your pupils are wide like a startled doe. You fidget with your apron. His words were a caress, a precise dissection of my carefully crafted composure. I'm fine. I folded my arms, hiding the tremor in my hands. Do you fear me, Margot? Or does the succubus's flirtations linger, sweetening your senses? Amusement danced in his eyes. What? I glanced at him, I glimpsed him and his flaky pastry departing. Don't call her that. My hackles rose at the dismissive term. And since when, little Hammond, do you dictate my words? I'll name her as I please. Why are you such an ass? Wrong breed. Tell me, did Kin's charm ignite a spark? You reek of nervous perspiration, Margot. A fascinating cocktail of fear and arousal? There are rumors that things that with his prim little princess are souring, and he's looking for a host. Something tells me you are willing. I'm not so stupid as to be food for a succubus. Oh? There are many ways for him to eat. I think you're a little uninformed about how they work. You're a beast. My words were raw and instinctive. I hated the way he tried to dissect me and lay bare my vulnerabilities. What a monster. His smile widened. And you, little Hammond, are fun to toy with. I'm sure the sex demon can't get enough of you. Mrs. P. returned without her daughters, a huge basket in her hands. It was almost the same size as she was. Here you go, love, she said, setting it in front of Cullen. I turned away, busying myself with arranging the comfits that she had started to put in the case earlier, and ready to be done with the whole conversation. Even with my back turned, I could feel his eyes on me, a presence. Your rent is due, Margot, Mrs. P. voice said, overly bright. Well, that can be a problem. Holding the basket in one hand, making it look light and easy, Callan ate his oatcake with the other. He could chomp it down in 3 bites, I knew, but instead he nibbled, slow, watching me. And how do you tend to pay it, dearie? Mrs. P. asked. Well, in spite of flubs, flusters, and flibbles, and me wanting to stop 20 times and edit things out, I got through the whole chapter. That was chapter 3 of Blue Blood, which is the second in the Apocalypse Keys series, which is based on the world of Claiming Starlight. I wanted to sit and chat a little bit. There are a couple things I want to do. So Kayleen, the name. I was looking up the right way to say names, but I only actually did the first part of his name, and I should have done the last part as well, because it is in Scottish Gaelic. And no, I am not some historian, and I don't necessarily want to get in trouble for borrowing from other cultures, but this is not a book that is necessarily seriously investigating any one culture. I'm actually making up cultures as I go along. Like, really, was there a killer sea animal culture? It's a part of, do you know what I mean? The world is so contentious this day that creativity is under fire. And if I get in trouble, I'm just going to point at my DNA that says I'm 75% Scottish. So it's not cultural appropriation. Oh, I'm trying to get the ad for you. It is currently, or get the word for you. There's an ad in the way because it's on YouTube, of course. Okay, so here we go. Kaylin.
Wouldn't you know? Kaylin. We are looking at how to pronounce these names.
Kaylin is how you pronounce C-A-I. Am I spelling it right? Cailean. That's that one. And then he is a special kind of supernatural creature. We're going to do this. Okay. Here we go. Come on. I got to refresh the page. I have it all called up. Gesundheit. I'm sorry. I can't help it. Ach, Ishne. That is spelled EACH-UISGE. The Ishne is water, I believe. He is a water horse, related to a kelpie, which is much easier to say, but is really too close to Cupie. And yeah. And that actually is the first time I'd ever seen the water horse myth was this. I originally thought it was a puka, and then I looked that up and got the Ach Ishne. And yeah, so that's him. I'm not sure how I pronounced it earlier, but that's a great way. And his last name is I'm probably saying it wrong too. Rhys. It's spelled R-H-Y-S. And you probably knew that because you're intelligent. And I tend to read a lot and not always look up how to pronounce things. I pronounce everything very much the way I do. So you're getting ambient noise because of where we live now. And yeah, what other updates did I want to tell you? Okay, I wanted to get this chapter out because I'm finally getting animated to YouTube, which was woo, yay. I'm posting this on Substack. I'm not sure what you will see in the notes. I hope that you will come over to see me at Isabel Stories on Substack, because within my notes, I have some interesting things for you. Let me just call it up, what I put up on my whole notes. Now, one of the things, if you hear when I'm reading, is a little clicking. That's my mouse, clicky, clicky, scrolling down the page, making edits, which I try not to do, but here's me typing. Okay, I'm going to my posts. Is Llewellyn Stories. Uh, Dashboard. I want to show you what today is going to be. If you subscribe to me over here, then you get these mailed to your inbox. Now, maybe you're subscribed to me somewhere else, which I appreciate. Thank you so much. So I'm not doing this to necessarily pile up on the same person over and over, but I am trying to reach new audiences. And this is one way that I'm hoping to do that. It says that nobody subbed to me, but 22 people actually listened to this, or maybe that was me clicking it open. I don't know. I don't know. So in my drafts, I have the one that I just read, chapter 3, which, well, I will upload and you will get it on YouTube, and it will pop up on all over the place on I checked. And hey, if you're listening to me on Audible, I appreciate you. You know, wherever you're listening to this, if you could rate me and review me. If you do review me, do warn people that I am just a writer reading her work out, and that I'm goofy, and that this is not a professional setup, and I'm doing it all on my own, and I really don't read directions. You know, warn people that I am not, like, you know, the production value is kind of low, but the fun times are really high, maybe. I can't not. I gotta add an addendum to everything I do, don't I? Just an addendum of keep your expectations low. So on Substack, you will see things like Chapter 3, Men and Horses. In Greenleaf Foggart, Swampy Heart, a new shadow loomed. Callan Rees. And each usage, which I can't, I just what did I just say? Whose beauty masked the predator's chill. Margot, ever wary of bloods, saw his arrival as a taunt, his imperious gaze stirring nightmares of judgment and vulnerability. As the rent loomed and Mrs. P. Bakeries buzzed, this water spirit's presence promised trouble, or worse. Dun, dun, dun. And then I have question. What will life be like after the apocalypse? Nothing like this. In this story, the world shattered on January 1st, 2000, Apocalypse Day, when the veil between realities was torn apart, unleashing magic and chaos across Earth. Cities crumbled, governments disappeared, and dark fantasies appeared where cities once lit up the sky. Supernatural beings, the Blue Bloods, now rule, and humans are their slaves, or worse, their prey. Meet the main character. This is the first-person point of view story, Margot Sanchu. So I do a little bit about Margot, and then here are 3 things you want to know. Upcoming vote. Should Margot be 2 years older or a year younger? A character's age helps define their maturity sometimes, but it also defines, you know, a stage of life, I think. And I don't write about older characters, older as in, you know, 25, 30, but because at that stage of life, I was more or less settling down and having babies. And my characters are not settling down and having babies. They are still discovering who they are. They are still discovering life. They are still testing the water of first love. So they do tend to be younger. I know that there is a current trend and a current desire to age up characters, maybe give them more experience. Margot obviously can't have more experience, but I can age her up a little. So that's that question. Would you like to vote? Should we age up or age down Margot? Another upcoming vote. I am not in love with her name. I was trying to do something different and get away from some of the sounds I tend to lean to, but I'm not loving Margot's name. I would like to have her some kind of, her dad is Andreas Shanchu, which is another name I could play around with a little bit, but in the area they are from, there was a massive in the in 1990s, there was a Cuban population. There was an Hispanic influence. So maybe she could have some kind of Cuban or Latina, Latin influence on her name. I don't know, but I don't love her name now. So upcoming vote. Should we change her name? Another upcoming vote. If we change it, what should it be? Now, remember I told you about the idea of buying coffees or buying tokens or buying things to invest in the story. Those votes would cost you a little bit of money. And for those, depending on the weight of your vote or the weight of what you're voting for, like it would be a major thing for me to allow a reader to pick Margot's name. That would be a major thing because she's a major character. And to do that, that's going to influence how I write the whole character. It would be a major thing for me to change her age. It would be a minor thing for me, you guys to vote for me to change her name, but let me pick the name. Does that make sense? Her father, um, her mother doesn't have a name. Upcoming vote. Margot's mother needs a name. Do you have an enemy we can name after her? That might be fun. That she's not a major character, so that would be a minor kind of cost. And what I'm thinking, I was talking about coffee. So if you got $5 and you bought me 5 coffee tokens, I would assign value to the thing and not the token. The token would each represent $1 or represent one, but that way I could charge a little bit more and still give value and still pay for all my fees, like taxes and whatever fees. So on this, like what I'm saying is, so the you spend $5, but a vote like Margot's mother's name, that would be 3 tokens maybe, or a vote for to change for you to choose Margot's name, that would probably be 10 to 15 or 20 tokens. That's a major thing for me, letting you be in charge of that, because you could pick anything. I mean, you could pick my daughter's name, and I would, if you bought it, I would have to go with it. Now, if you accidentally picked my daughter's name, I would have a hard time writing that character. So that's why that would have more value. So if you're on this page here on Substack, which is where I put this particular information, and I think I will port it over to my website so you can find it there if you can't find my Substack. And I recently put a link on my website, which is www.izzawillen.com, so that you can find my Substack and my podcast easier. Also, here is a picture from my Apocalypse Keys journal, which I'm going to begin working on as I get more settled and get more in and get my art stuff together. And these journal bits and pieces, I would love to make copies of them and send them copies out to you, and we could build that journal together. Is that something you would like? I love paper, people. Oh my gosh. There's also a definition for a sorcerer, and then it says thanks for listening. So I'm going to go over really quickly to my website. Let's just... So you go to izzawillen.com, and I think you do need to type in the www, and it says Izzawillen, Darker Dreams, Ruined Worlds, Spicy Romance, Home, Subclub, ISO Dark, Izzawillen on audio and books. And the one you want to click is Izzawillen on audio, and that takes you automatically to Izzawillen Stories, Coffee and Book Club, which is my Substack for this. Isn't that awesome? Why am I on Substack? Just because it's easier to distribute my podcast, and it's actually not costing me anything to do that, which means you can listen to free. You don't have to buy the extra sparkle, the extra coffee coins or whatever. You don't have to do anything. You can just listen. If you want to support me, if you want to support this story, if you want to influence this story and become a part of the community, I would, how fun would that be? But you don't have to. No pressure. So it's out there. Do you remember I was talking to that one company? I'm kind of excited about it. They got back to me. They're kind of flexible. They're in beta. There's a lot of options. It's not just for the written work or for podcasting. It could be for the written work. It would give me more options than just a subscription. I love it. I think it would be fun. And let's do this. What about other things I'm still working on as well? And well, it's only been a week, and yes, I'm still working on it. I'm actually going to have to go out of town. I'm going to take my computer with me, but I won't have anything else. I won't have my people with me, which is going to be kind of difficult. And I have to be out of town for a week, for a family thing. An elder relative has passed on, and I need to be there to support and help. And so I'm going to be away from, and it's messing up my routine. Routines are so important to me, and I can't seem to get one for nothing. So there's that. Okay, have I got you all up to date? There was just so many things I wanted to tell you this morning, the first time I recorded this. And now I think I've forgotten half of them. Thank you for listening, for the 10 people, for the 20 people who have been listening to the story. Again, you can find it on Ream. I am on more chapters over on Ream. I'm ahead. This is only chapter 3, and I believe I'm on chapter 5 on Ream. Is all free for first 4 chapters are free for public. The 5th chapter is following only, and the 6th chapter, the next upcoming chapter, will be subscribers only. And that will be, chapter 6 will be a voting chapter one way or another. The way the votes work is I will ask two questions at the end of chapters, and voters will decide on what happens next. If only 2 people vote, those 2 people get to decide on how the story goes. The what happens next, I will write and then post, and sometimes that takes 2 or 3 chapters. It tends to be, I try not to make it a broad thing so that I can answer it in one chapter, but some things just take me a little bit longer to feel like I've fully integrated it, so it may take a couple chapters. I'm really only committing to 1 to 2 chapters a month for this story. I know it sounds slow and agonizing, and you're like, why are you investing it all? But if I under promise, then if I do over more, you'll be excited. And also, I have other stories and other projects I really have to work on. I just really want to get you excited about this story about I will be putting out Claiming Starlight in a different format. It'll be on Ream probably and in different places. I want to get you excited in my stories, and maybe, I don't know, do you like them? Are they crap? You like me reading? You want me to get a guest reader? Give it up, walk away, don't quit your day job. Too late, already did. Now I'm stuck in the middle of nowhere in Texas, and I got to make this thing work. So anyway, there you go. I miss you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.